And we're live. I didn't catch that countdown. Exiting. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of P.S. I Love You, and it is my honor to do another little segmented show with my wonderful lover, friend, girlfriend Melanie, and yeah, we just wanted to collaborate and get. I just think it'd be super fun to see what our minds together can come up with, and so thank you for creating this stuff with me.
You're welcome.
So you had something in mind that you wanted to kind of, being our first episode and everything, and it's kind of going to be based on a relationship and just different things that we've done or what we've been through, how we dealing with our bullshit, right?
Yes. Yeah, pretty much. That was the idea. No, so my thought was, it's just interesting to me, like, people always ask, like, oh, how'd you meet? Like, whenever you're with someone. And I had a conversation a few weeks ago with a friend of ours who he asked, I forget how it started, but he kind of said something about how long we've been together. And I'm like, well, it's just been like a little over a year. And he looked surprised. He was like, oh, like you guys get along so well, you communicate so well. I just assumed you were together for a lot longer. And then I told him, well, we've been friends for several years before that, so we knew each other pretty well. And it was interesting because he asked, I forget exactly how he asked, but basically he asked if I thought it was easier or harder dating a friend than dating someone who I just met and started dating. And then before I really answered, he said he always thought it would be harder dating a friend because you already have a friendship. You already have like, I don't know, I guess like expectations, parameters, and you already have a relationship, and then that changes when you start dating. And he thought it would be harder to date a friend than to just meet someone and date. So then he was asking me like my thoughts on that. I'd never really thought about it the way he presented it before. So I just thought it was, interesting. And I've heard you said something, I think it was to one of my kids one day, that you wouldn't date someone, like you've gotten to a point where you wouldn't date someone you weren't friends with. And I thought that was, I just think it's an interesting idea of the whole concept. I know a lot of people have that mindset that you don't date friends because it ruins friendships and this and that. But at the same time, like they're your friends for a reason. Like you have people in your life for a reason, and obviously you have a connection on some level. I'm not saying it has to be more, but you already have like a level of connection there. So I just thought it was interesting, and I thought it'd be fun. Well, also to get your take on it, because I just told you about that today. Like I don't remember ever telling you about that conversation before.
No, it's funny because I've someone else said. That we both know, that said they were surprised that we were together, and this was actually maybe we were like 6 months in. That because it does, I guess from the outside perspective, it seems like we mesh very well, or the way we communicate is very like we know each other. I don't know. There's a couple different things I could say about that. Like, I guess like me saying like I would never date anyone who wasn't a friend. It's interesting how you said like it would change the relationship, right? Like a friend, if you become intimate with a friend, choose to proceed into a relationship, that changes it. My mind went to evolves. It evolves that relationship. Also, I think it's just the level of I guess commitment or obligation I would have to someone. Like I would be open, obviously, to meeting new people or whatever and exploring that, but like jumping straight into and like we've talked about this too, is like, what is a relationship? Like, because when you get into like a relationship with someone, that like each person has these ideas of what that now means, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so titles for me is just a weird thing in general because I feel confined by them. Not like specifically in our relationship, because we do communicate about what that means. What obligations do we have to each other? Like, or even like breaking down definitions of like cheating, or we talk about how much time we want to spend with each other. They're like, once you lay out all those guidelines, the titles don't seem so intimidating to me anymore. It's just more or less like, now I know what I'm working with. It's that unknown of like, so, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's really, yeah, and I agree. It's like you want to get to know someone kind of on an intimate level before you bring them around your children, around just in your day-to-day life to that extent. I'm also a very guarded person, I think. So it's just like I think the way that we were friends first, I didn't there wasn't so much, I didn't have so much like suspicion or my guard up for ill intentions, because I'm always on like the lookout of like, I don't want to be hurt, I have my guard. Yeah, similar.
Yeah.
Right? So I think being friends first, a lot of the like bullshit figuring outness was like kind of out of the way already.
Yeah. Well, and I like that you brought up your kids, because that was another thing that was totally different, in that we already knew each other's kids. So there was no like introducing me to the kids, and with my kids, it was just like your kids already knew who I was, and my kids already knew who you were. And it's also totally different with our kids, because mine are obviously older teenagers. So it is like, I still absolutely agree with the whole idea that you shouldn't bring new people around your kids for a period of time. But at the same time, my kids, like they want me happy and they love that I'm with someone, but there's also a level of they don't care, because they have their own thing going on, where your kids are much younger. So it's just a totally different dynamic, me being around your kids than you being around mine, which I think we've navigated well also. Like, I think, yeah.
Well, I know, like at first Sage, like maybe I don't know time frames of how long, but it was a little bit after we were hanging out consistently that Sage just thought you were just a friend still, like, and I think that's important for anyone to like, or who, like the kids they can feel that energy, but it wasn't like, our relationship was, well, when the kids are around, it's not centered on us being all intimate or lovey-dovey, and it's so it does build that, like, yeah, I was very, and like I'm very observant. I was very cautious at first. Like, I knew you're good with kids, and I knew my kids liked you, and they already knew you and stuff, but I observed you around my children, because it's like, there are like, well, if you want to build something with someone, there's all like, I have this idea in my mind of like these qualifiers or like prerequisites that, like, because I do have children, these are very important things to me. I do have different avenues of life, and seeing how another person responds to that and how they act was super important for me to see if it was something I did want to expand and involve on.
Absolutely. I remember, and I don't remember the time frame either, but I remember early on, one time I'd come over and Sage asked me if I was staying. And I asked her if that was okay with her, if I stayed and hung out with you guys and you were getting ready to eat. And she was like, oh yeah. And I remember later you asked me like, well, what if Sage had said no? And I'm like, then I wouldn't have stayed, because I think it's important, especially like being a single parent, like that one-on-one time with my kids is very important to me. And it's important to you also, but it's also like how the kids perceive things. And I never wanted, I never wanted your kids to feel like, oh, like Melanie's here all the time now, like I wanted to make sure, because it's always crazy. Like, obviously I was with my kid's father for years and that relationship ended, and yours with their mother. But like, it's like, I'll talk for me. Like, I got so in my own, like I had to heal in my own emotions and my own healing, that I had to actively remind myself that my kids were going through a transition also. And I had to be mindful of them and how they were feeling and how much they, wanted to spend time with me or wanted to not spend time with me, like just, it's just a weird balance not knowing. That's not like ahead of time how things are going to play out or how kids are going to react or how you're going to react. So I've always tried to be conscious and mindful with my kids. So then when we started spending time together more and started dating, I wanted to be respectful and mindful of your kids also. So, but it was also like totally new to me. Like I'd never dated someone with kids, or kids in the house. But yeah, that was really important to me. And I think, I don't know. I mean, I feel like in part that was really important to me because we were friends. Like I always had that mindset, like I want to benefit I want my presence to be a benefit or an add-on. Like I didn't want you to feel ever like torn or like an obligation or like, whatever, fill in the blank.
No, it shows for sure. And like, yeah, I try to add value wherever I go too. But no, it definitely, like, I appreciate that a lot, and it shows, and that's why we're still together. Because it like we equally benefit each other and all the way around. And I think I use my kids, what I believe is my kids' perception of me quite often as a motivator or a gauge. I mean, if I'm left to my own devices and no responsibility, I'd be a whole lot different than I probably am now. Just because I have like, it's extremely important. I want my kids to grow up and want to come and hang out with me and go on whatever the fuck happens, but like I want that family bond to be strong, and you have to be a conscious parent in order for that to happen, or partner or whatever. So yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I totally think that what your aim was, you nailed.
Good. That was a concern for me. I mean, not like an active, like I lost sleep concern, but like when I first thought about dating at all, it was like 2 years after my husband and I separated. And at the time, like I thought like I would never date someone with kids because I was so overwhelmed with parenting my own kids that I thought I can't be this person in someone else's kid's life. So I wasn't, I'm really bad at, it's not bad. Like when I'm going into new situations, I tend to want to read up and research and feel like I know what I'm doing walking into it. And I definitely did not do that walking into this.
I remember like yeah, you made a statement or something, just from my perception of what was going on in the mom's household, like that. Yeah, I'm like, I made it very, like, I don't know if I made it clear, something like, yeah, I did not want you're not my kid's mom, right? Like, you're Melanie, but your dad's girlfriend, and there's a big difference. But the way that my kids interact with you now, like I think Sage asked like a week or two ago if she could call you mom or something like that, and that was like, it's cool to me that it happens like organically. My kids view you in that role because of just how you are. It's not like we're trying to push anything on them or like, this is what Melanie is. It's none of that. We just hang out, and kids organically are just like warming up to you so much that, sometimes Patrick will run and hug you before he sees me or something.
Well, and I've always appreciated that you and I shared that mindset from the beginning. Like the whole like I'm dating you. That does not mean you're stepdad to my kids. And I don't have any expectations of you to step in and act like a father. And you never put expectations on me. Like I said, it kind of like it developed into that also because they're so young. And I absolutely love your kids. So it was easy to be like, yeah, they need help with homework and I can sit down and help them. And, we're getting dinner ready or whatever. Like it just fell together naturally. But there was never like expectations that we put on each other as far as each other's kids or that we put on the kids. Like it always, there are people who are like, oh, this is your dad now and you have to call him this. And that always creeped me out a little. Like, not like creep out, but that always just struck me wrong. Like, I don't think kids should be pushed into anything like that.
It is a creepy thing.
Thank you. I didn't know if creepy was too strong, but like, yeah,
Cringy,
that's,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's cringy. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I know we touched kind of mentioned earlier. It's like, so how we met is a very interesting story because it's we're both in a 12-step program called ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics / Dysfunctional Families, right? So I think we've crossed paths a couple times prior, but never really had much conversation.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it created, it was an interesting situation. So in ACA, we share a lot of personal details about our lives and our upbringing and past traumas and all of those things because we're working through them as a group. So the first few years I knew you, it was really just like at ACA meetings. And I think there was a couple times a group of us, I drove and we went to a meditation meeting out in Westlake, but it was 100% within the context of the meeting. And it wasn't until, well, it was, I was trying to think of the timeline, but it was, I don't know, when you went back to Silver Maple, that was the first time I sent you a message like outside of ACA and just like encouraging you like that I just wanted you to know that you were important to a lot of people and you help a lot of people. And I was praying for you and like, I wanted good things for you. But for me, I almost said the funny thing, not that it's funny. I talked to someone else in ACA before sending that because I didn't know if it was crossing a line. Like there's this weird bubble sometimes, or at least, I don't know, maybe I'm totally wrong. For me, it was like, I had very big boundaries, especially around men. And it was important to me to keep everything like in the right lanes. And it's like, you were someone I talked to at ACA meetings. So me sending you a direct message, having nothing to do with the ACA, just because I cared about you and you were struggling at the time. And I wanted you to know that people care about you. I didn't know if I was crossing a line, and I talked to someone else in the meeting before sending it. So it really wasn't until after that we talked ever, like outside of the context of the meeting. So it was just like we just knew a lot of details about each other, but it's not like we were like hanging out friends. We just knew each other very well.
The funny thing is, I guess, from after us getting together and talking, she mentioned that meditation meeting we went to. There was like a couple, she was the only female, I think. There was 2 other guys in the car. And the conversation that I had brought up in the car was, is it wrong to watch pornography or masturbate in a relationship? And I guess, which was just a fucking conversation to me, but to Melanie at that time, was a very cringy subject.
Oh, I wanted to jump out the window. Yeah. Yeah, it was you and 2 other guys, and I was driving. And you 3 were just like this lively conversation. I'm just like, eyes on the road, like the whole way out there.
Look where she's sitting now.
Yeah.
No, I do remember that. Yeah, so I had a relapse maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know, 2.5 to 4 years ago at this point. And that's the text. I went to a rehab facility, and she had reached out, and I remember that. I remember getting out and going up to the place we worked at that time, and one of the employees said something about how affected you were by that, and I looked at you, and it was like, and yes, you have this ability to be caught deer in the headlights look. And it was that for sure.
I'm very, to my benefit, I've become less like this, but especially at the time, everything in my mind was compartmentalized, and it was to protect myself. So even though I worked in a recovery community and we had tons of clients, like people I knew through work, like had relapsed, and there was people who died, and it was like sad, but I kept myself emotionally separated from it. Like, these are clients. But then you were not part of that, like, compartmental of client. You were on the friend, fellow traveler, ACA side. So when you relapsed, like, I had no barrier prepared to, like, keep that feeling at arm's length if you didn't come back, or if you had died, or if you had been back out for years. Like, it was a very small relapse, but it could have been anything. And I was not prepared to protect myself from that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting meeting someone who, yeah, like you said, we shared a lot of like childhood situations, and I think I'm pretty open to an extent of like at least past events, like I have no problem sharing the shit I've done or the shit that has been done to me or how weird my thinking is or something like that. So, which I think is beneficial, especially in ACA, because a lot of it is hard to get out, and I wasn't like that always, it took me a long time to not, like, if it happened, there's no point in hiding the shit, right? Unless you're going to get yourself in trouble or something. But
and that was very beneficial to me.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, you were always this example in my mind of like when I first started going to ACA, I mean, I didn't share anything with anybody. Everything was locked down. And I would just sit there and just be in awe that, like, people shared so openly about all of this crap, and you were always a consistent, it didn't matter what the topic was, or it just didn't matter. And you shared things, and it was always like, it wasn't with tension, or it wasn't with, like, there wasn't like a heavy negative emotions attached to it. You were just sharing, and you were responding to other people, and you were always like this example of like, that's how, like, I want to just be natural. I want it to feel natural to be open, because I definitely was not at the time.
That's interesting though, because like I don't know, I think it's called intellectualizing. Like, there was a long period where I could talk about the situations that happened with no emotional attachment to it, but I wasn't actually processing and feeling it. It was the one day I came home from that meeting specifically, and I broke down and actually felt what I've been sharing and sharing and sharing. But like, there is a difference. Like, yeah, like I can share stuff and now process it and feel it. I'm sure there's still like a disconnect partially somewhere, but it was like a coping mechanism where I could share it but not feel it, But then it's important in the healing journey to feel it, like, and allow your body to feel it and get it out. It has to flow through to get out, even though that's why I did a lot of the drugs I did, because I didn't want to feel it, but finding that safe space and creating that. And yeah, I always just remember before, like, you're always like, you're just a super kind soul, and you're always willing to help. And yeah, and that is not that common. That was not that common in my life prior. You know what I mean? So I think we definitely, just like from the beginning of us knowing each other, like, I think I have helped you a lot in me just being me and not giving a fuck so much.
Yes.
And then you just being super chill and soft spoken and a safe space, I'm sure the list goes on and on with both, but yeah, that was like the beginnings of like our compatibility, like because I think every relationship you guys should feed each other, like, because we're very different, like our lifestyles are similar now because we share them, but just it's very, very different. And but what we equally have learned on our journeys is we share it, and it's substantially beneficial for both of us.
Absolutely.
She giggles a lot. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just super excited to see what we can collaborate together and get out there. It's like, so I guess I'll tell this story, which is interesting. Like, so yeah, like I think it was like 5 years, right, or something like that.
I don't know what you're about to share.
That we know each other before we got in a relationship.
Oh yeah, roughly, yeah.
So, and it's like the universe will show you kind of like what's coming if you have the awareness and can pay attention, right? So I was in a relationship with my kid's mom for quite a few years, 8 years or something, and then towards the end, actually the day that she left, Melanie Pryor had it's just weird how everything works, right? Like she had asked me to go on this fire walking experience where they burn coals and you walk across fire, fear working exercise. And I was like, yeah, cool, it sounds amazing. And me and my ex were kind of on we're in a toxic relationship at that time, and it was just not healthy. But Melanie came over to pick me up. We were going to ride together to go to this thing, and my children's mom came out and was very she had every reason to be upset. Not specifically that situation, but I have definitely done a lot of things that I'm not proud of. So it was just a combination of all this bullshit and consequently, my children's mother and Melanie know each other from way back when. So she had came out and expressed to Melanie that she was not comfortable with me going to this firewalking experience with her just because of the other bullshit I was pulling. There was nothing against you. She was actually pretty polite to you at that, which I was extremely surprised because we weren't that way together. But so needless to say, I was like, yeah, fuck it, let's go. I was so mad, like, let's go. And Melanie, being her, was just like, hey, I totally understand where Christy's coming from. I don't feel comfortable. And I'm like, cool. She's like, you didn't end up going, did you? Yeah, I didn't go either. I left and went over a friend's house and smoked a hell of a lot of weed because I was so mad. And I come home and Christy had packed up her shit and took the kids and was gone. And so that was the start of me becoming single, I guess, was the breakup of my household, you know. So it's interesting to me, super, that you were not the catalyst, but the hair on the straw on the camel. But I'm not putting that on.
No,
you,
I know.
But that's
so it was hard. So that situation. So on my side of all of that. So I remember when we first talked about, because I had done the firewalking previously, and it was like a mind-blowing experience. And I remember you saying then, you figure COVID was in there, so I think it was actually 2 years earlier, maybe. You had told me then, oh, if you ever do that again, I would love to do it also. And then, like I said, I think the next year was the COVID year, and it was canceled, so it was after that. So I told you when it was coming, and you had wanted to go. And there was several months where it was like you and Chrissy were kind of on and off. Like you were living together the whole time, but whether or not you were together or not together, like there was back and forth. And I told you then, I remember I texted you, like, I remember texting you, like, I don't want to make things weird. I know, like, you guys are, like, working on stuff. Like, I just want to make sure, like, if this isn't okay, like, there's no hard feelings. We just shouldn't go. And I remember you responded, like, oh, like, you had told her everything's fine. And then it was kind of funny because you kind of challenged me, like, well, if you don't want to go, just say you don't want to go. And I'm like, I just don't want to be a problem. And that's, like, I'm not sure how it's feeling right now. So then after I left, and Chrissy, I mean, she was obviously mad, but yeah, I didn't feel like she was like attacking me by any means. But she messaged me after I left and just kind of said, like, I'm sorry I screamed at you. I didn't mean it. I didn't think she was screaming, but she's like, I didn't mean it that way, and da-da-da. And I responded and said, I was no means trying to make you uncomfortable, and I overstepped, and I apologize. And there was kind of a couple messages back and forth. But like, the situation was hard for me because then I felt like on one hand, like when I first brought it up, it was like in my mind, it was like totally cool because it's this really cool workshop. you know.
Well, she did. I did tell her about it, and she did know. It was just
Yeah, I didn't think you were lying.
It was just all the other bullshit.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It was just her out. She was looking for an out. I think
Mm-hmm.
she didn't want to leave, but she did, and didn't have an out, and it was just sometimes you need a little event to just make things happen,
Mhm.
and I don't.
Or you need the other person too. Like that's how I feel like my marriage ended. Like it was such an insanely hard decision, and I had to like really build myself up to it, and I agonized it over a long freaking time. From the time I first had the thought of divorce to actually talking to my now ex about it. And I was so scared, having no idea how the conversation was going to go. And like his reaction, I can only describe as relieved. Like he was just relieved I brought it up because he clearly wanted it too. And that day we had probably the calmest, most productive conversation we had had in 2 years. And it was over the fact that we both wanted out of the marriage. But then, and there was a period of time, like my healing journey was all up and down, but there was a period of time where I was almost like mad that he was relieved. Because I'm like, you clearly wanted it. Why didn't you say something? Like, why did you make me end the marriage or say something? But it's for the same reason I didn't want to do it. Like, like because I remember thinking, like, I wish he would just end our marriage and I could have said something sooner. It's just that, like, not wanting to do it or not wanting to be the bad guy or not wanting to like make that decision. I don't know what it is, but
it was also very hard for me to I don't like that. I still love Chrissy.
mm-hmm.
I didn't want to hurt her, like even though I was in the actions I was doing. It's really off. It was some like in hindsight, I just did way more damage than I needed to do. Because I wasn't at that point, obviously, I wasn't capable of being honest. I wasn't capable of standing up and being the man that I should have been. Instead, I tried to cushion one's feelings by lying, I guess, just being an asshole. Because in reality, I did way more damage than was needed or should have ever happened. It's sometimes very hard to be open and honest with your feelings to people, And
well, we've talked about that with us about when you need space.
When we first got together, it was hard for me because I wanted, like just being in a relationship with someone for years. Yeah, I think you need that buffer time before, maybe not exactly becoming intimate, but sharing, like getting into a relationship with someone. Like I have a lot of baggage, right? And I have a lot of things I still need to process from the past relationship and shit that I didn't work on through that, or shit I needed to now work on because of that.
Yeah.
And so, it's really hard for me specifically. I'm not sure if it's universal in this, but like when I have shit going on, I need to process it, and I don't always. I'm very, I think, considerate or aware of other people, and so like when someone else is around, it's hard for me to like deal with what I have going on because I just feel this perhaps like obligation to entertain in a way or just be interactive with the person, and so you would come over, and I would like I'd be in a low mode or something, and I'd need space and like I didn't want to hurt your feelings, really, basically.
Yeah.
Like so, but I would instead just be kind of standoffish and pokey, kind of cocky, asshole-ish, I guess. When in reality, I just wanted to be alone and process shit, or So
well, and I remember when we had that conversation because the one day, like I had come over and you were clearly acting like you didn't want me there, and I kind of confronted you on it. And that's what you said. I'm like, then why wouldn't you just tell you, like, you knew I was coming over. Why wouldn't you just say, like, I'm having a bad day, don't come over? And you're like, I don't want to hurt your feelings. I'm like, so you'd rather me come over and make me feel unwelcome? And it was a good conversation because then after that, you would just let me know, like, I need, like, if you could not come over today, or I need a couple days, or I'm working through something. And you were very, like, reassuring to me, like it's not like there's nothing wrong between us, but I don't want to see you today. And it was like night and day difference than like not knowing what was going on.
I want to say at first it was hurtful to your feelings.
It depended on the situation. No, there was a couple times, but it wasn't because it was just the situation. It wasn't because you were being honest with me. Like I fully appreciated when you've told me like I need space right now.
Yeah.
And even when it was hurtful, I appreciated it way more than like you just putting up with me.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot easier. Well, the way that we've communicated so far in our relationship, it's 100% more easier for me to tell you what I'm thinking and how I feel. But that was extremely hard for me. It was like, you know, and I guess you go on like the reasons why, and especially like how we met with ACA, you know, like things I guess were weaponized against me for such a long time. Or I think a lot of it is too is I did a lot of bullshit and I was just so used to like hiding it because I didn't want, I guess, yeah, it's easier just not to talk about it. Easier, you know, not really, but
I get that. I mean, it was the same and different when I was married. Like I would just do everything I could to just try to avoid any kind of conflict, even though I was just making it worse by trying to avoid it or not talking about things when they happened. Because then when it did come up, it was a huge issue. Not that it wouldn't have been an issue, but by me trying to hide it or ignore it, I made it 10 times worse. And I can see that in retrospect. At the time, it made sense. Yeah. At the time, the problem was it got unhidden. Like if I had just been able to keep this hidden, then everything would have been fine.
Right. The truth always comes to light. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's but I think that's what makes a relationship last is us. The thing I'm most impressed by and that I love about a relationship is like, yeah, I do things that is probably not the best efficient way to resolve an issue, but then thank God you did confront me about it. You know, like you inquire, you ask me questions, you try to get to how am I feeling about it. And even today, if I'm feeling a little off, you're like, well, I get fucking shitty when you're like, what's wrong? You know, obviously it's obvious that I'm upset and I don't like to talk about things when I'm upset, really. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, but we're getting to know each other. We're getting to understand, you know, but then we talk through things. And that's another thing, like I've learned to give, through our relationship, I've learned to give people space, right? Like sometimes it takes you a while to formulate the thoughts that you're thinking into a cohesive way to communicate it. Mm-hmm. You know, and I used to be all like, say what you want to say, come on, like in past relationships. I don't know so much I like that with you, but yeah, it's like come on, you know, but now, you know, and now it's I'm able to give you space, you know, or give, you know, just give time, give like hold space for someone. We all have our little weird quirks and things that work through, but when you're present enough and we communicate about enough, we learn those things and learn how to navigate them. And it seems to be working pretty good, you know. And like yeah, things do come up. I do maybe, you know, like it's so easy for me to tell you like, hey, I need a day, you know. Mm-hmm. It was fucking impossible at first, you know, but through communication, it's anything can be accomplished pretty in a short manner of time too. I always forget how short things can change.
Yeah.
Like I don't, for some reason, when I hit a roadblock, I'm like, oh fuck, you know. And like a week later, it's good.
Yeah. No, it's nice because there's been times, I mean, two that I can think of. Like obviously, I'm different. Shocking. But like when I'm upset, like I might not want to talk about it, but I also don't want space. Like I want you around, Or like before, I wanted my kids with me, and that didn't mean I wanted to talk about it, but I also didn't want to be on my own. But it's also like I struggled a lot in the past with codependency and with the people pleasing and all of that. So one thing, like the night I'm thinking of is like when I went to that rage dance, and I was going to be out late, so I wasn't planning to come over, but it was a night I would normally come over. And when I left, I was very emotional after that event, and you had texted, you can come over if you want. And a part of me would be like, oh, I should go over, because if I don't go over, then it's saying I don't want to come over, and I don't want you to think I don't want to be here, but I'm also like super emotional right now. And I was able to respond to you, I actually need a night by myself. And in the past, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Like that was definitely like, it wasn't hard, but in retrospect, and I was thinking about it after the fact, like that was kind of a big deal for me, because the mere fact you invited me over, I felt like, well, if I don't go over, then he's going to think I don't want to be around him. And there's been a small handful of times where I needed my space, and I was able to communicate that without me then feeling guilty. Like that was a beautiful part, is I didn't feel guilty for telling you I needed to be alone. And I know there was one night, I don't remember what, it was a night you had actually asked me not to come over because you were dealing with something. But you texted, we read our daily meditation, and you had texted, like basically you didn't want me to come over, but you will call me later and we'll read on the phone. Well, and then I got upsetting news with my house, and I was super upset, and I texted you and said, I am not in the mood to read. Like, thank you for the offer, but don't call to do the meditation. And that's like, it seems so trivial. Like it seems like it shouldn't matter, but like that was a big deal for me to do that, instead of just like taking any time or any attention or anything I can get from you. Because that's how I would be before. Like any morsel of attention I can get, I'll take it, whether it's good or bad. And I'm definitely actively moving beyond that feeling of like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I think it's well, like you said, like I was codependent in a lot of relationships as well. And it's like the more you grow and the more you find yourself, it's like, well, a lot of times too, like when I'm not feeling well, I'm just gonna put it on you. Like I might not even say anything. There's that energy you give off when you're not okay. It's not conducive to like spread around on people, right? It's like, I know I got to get myself at least to a certain level before I should share myself with you. Now it's like a tricky thing, because I can also isolate when I'm not doing good. It's like I gotta know, like I'm not pushing anyone away. I just need space to get good. But then if I go out like self-love too much, then I'm just pushing people away, But it's like you find, like, yeah, I'm not okay. Like, do I really want to go spread this bullshit? Like, let's get myself together. Let's go take a nice long shower, or do some yoga, or meditate, or go for a run, or going for night bike rides sometime, whatever it is, to get myself back on my game, so to speak, is really important. Because I mean, I think, in my personal opinion, a lot of relationships fall because people, first off, don't deal with their shit. Mm-hmm. And then in turn, they're projecting all their bullshit on their loved ones, and it's like, whoa, like I want, like this relationship, any friendship relationship, whatever it be, like I want to add value, kind of like what you said,
Yeah.
Like you want to go into something loving and trying to build it. I can't do that when I'm all upset. Like I just have to step away for a little bit, because I can destroy shit with ease. That's not what I want to do anymore.
That's good. I'm glad you don't want to do that anymore.
Me too.
I think we're good at giving each other a safe space to just deal with whatever emotions we have to deal with. And that's, I definitely see that as one of our absolute strengths as a couple, in that we've learned, and we're constantly learning and doing better at doing that for ourselves and each other. I think that's, I don't know. I honestly think a lot of times people don't understand the value of that. Like the value of just space. Like me, like I always wanted to, like, I used to always feel like I had to fix things. Like, I love you, so I need to fix all of your problems. And I did it like really bad with my kids. You know, it's always with your kids. Like, I just want to fix everything. I want to throw a pillow under you every time you're about to fall. And that's not what people need all the time. Sometimes, but like a lot of times you can't fix it and you're just making it worse. And then you're meddling. And then, you know, I wouldn't understand why, you know, like I'd be trying to help someone and they weren't receiving my help and then getting mad at me. And then I'm like, what the fuck? I'm helping you. Like, take my help, you know? So that learning to like just give people space. And that was something I learned first to do with my kids. And I'm still like, I do too much for them still. But it was a big thing for me when I learned like my kids would be upset about something and I would ask them, do you want my advice or do you just want me to listen? Mm-hmm. And based on what they said is what I did. Because sometimes they just needed to vent and they needed someone who was actively listening. So I would be 100% in the conversation, but I would not tell them what I think they should be doing because they did not want to hear it and they verbalized that. So I think it's important. I think we've learned to do that with each other a lot and we're getting better. And then it's also strengthened that in me to benefit my other relationships.
I think it's a beautiful line to be able to see is the enable. Are you enabling? Or are you helping? You know? Because and I want, like, I could have you do everything for me or fix all my problems and stuff, but it will never be enough, you know, like, it doesn't, like, I always go back to the caterpillar analogy, like the caterpillar goes in its cocoon and does the metamorphosis process. Once it becomes a butterfly, you know, it needs that. If you break open that cocoon, it'll die. You know, it needs to strengthen its wings. It needs to break its own cocoon. And that's the same with us in situations, tough situations. And that's to say, don't lend a helping hand or let someone know that they're present. If you just want their presence, they'll be there. But you can't keep handing someone fucking $10 to go get drunk every day. You know, it's not helping. Mm-hmm. Do you want to stop for a second and check these comments? Suzanne, she's loving us with her heart. And McKenna, she says, Mel is so intelligent and also hot. She sure is. I saw that one pop out, so I figured we should read it for everyone.
I love her so much.
Yeah, this is so fun and so cool, and just I think more people should, like, I guess we're both learning that, like, well, I've been doing videos for a while now, but you know, it's like, and you're my number one fan with that, right? But there's also many people. I just had a friend reach out yesterday, like, hey, where you been? You know, and it's like she's like going through. She said I really helping her, but like, I just think it's so cool that we do communicate about things. We don't have like. We can talk about the bullshit that happened. And I think this will just like really help the people who have the ears to hear it, you know.
It'll be fun. Mm-hmm. I hope so. It is weird for me. Like you seem so much more comfortable, which is, I know. I like this. Like, it's just weird. Like I'm wearing my glasses this time. When I was on your podcast, like I took my glasses off so I could not see like the computer or what was going on because I had to like pretend we weren't actually doing a video.
So what's weird about
it? I was actually just talking to someone at Moshi today about this, like with my writing, like I have no problem writing for other people. I have a hard time with my own writing because there's this like constant feeling or this nagging thought in the back of my head or something like, who wants to read what I wrote? Like, how will what I write matter? You know? So I guess it's that same mindset of like, I love sharing our relationship, and we talk to people, or I talk to people in person all the time. And I love sharing that, but there's always that twinge of like, well, who am I to, I don't know, talk about relationships or say, I don't know. Like, it's just that, I don't know, like the imposter syndrome or whatever that is, that thought like, well, why does what I say matter? So then it's weird for me to be like, hey, we're going to do a podcast and just talk about our relationship and how we communicate.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. I get that.
Aw.
Like, I thought that a long time about me. Like, I was like a homeless drug addict in and out of jail, and like, I didn't really do anything but stop doing that and have some kids, do construction. And I'm like, but people are like, I mean, it's like, well, you know, McKenna said it best. Like, you're so intelligent. Like, we both consume a lot of information, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we both are able to, I'm saying about like 50% of what information I actually apply to my life that I learn. But that's where the work is. If you can, it doesn't matter what you do, but if you can learn something and apply it to your life and your life changes, not many people do that. A lot of people just gather information, don't do nothing with it. And then there's a lot more people that don't even gather information. They just willy-nilly fucking bag in the wind type lifestyle, you know? So when people see someone who's able to acquire information, apply it to their life or integrate it,
Yes.
and take action and their life changes, the momentum behind that is fucking amazing. And it's contagious, and people fucking suck that up. And I think it's just what we're both on that journey of. Like, what, like I like to say a lot, like, commit to growth and I'll meet you there, right?
Yes.
Like, I'm a firm believer if one of us just stopped working on ourselves and totally backfired, like, we both love each other, but I don't see that this would work either way. You know?
I agree, yeah.
Like, if I just totally went in the dumpster and stopped doing anything, like, I'm sure, like, you would be there for a little bit, but if you saw it wasn't going anywhere, you'd have to, you know, it's like doing what's best for yourself, you know, because I come from that people-pleasing mentality, too. I've clung on to things that were, like, dumpster fire, they call it, you know, the plane's going down, and I have a parachute, but I'm just going to hang out because I love you so much.
Yeah.
You know, and that just, I think we both learned our lessons on that, you know.
Yes, I think so, yes.
So that's what it takes. It takes that commitment to God or to yourself or whatever you perceive to want to helps encourage you to master life. You know, it's that road to mastery. You have to continue on it, or else it's never gonna work. Or you can live a fucking shitty, just be miserable.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I definitely I see you constantly challenge me, which is, I mean, it's just one of the many things I love most about you. It's like, I need to be constantly challenged in a way that's like I love that. I eat it up. Like, I love learning. I love being able to, like, what can I learn and apply to my life? And I want to take this all in. And I love that. And I love trying new things, but it is, having, and I do those things on my own. Like, I've done those things, like, well, since my marriage ended, I like very actively trying new things and learning new things and all of that. But it's just like a different level of fulfillment to be with someone who is at that same, like you encourage me and you're learning new stuff and you're trying new stuff, and we go try things together and we're pushing each other, and like having that constant, it's like we talk, like self-awareness is huge, like absolutely huge. But it's like being with someone, being in a conscious relationship, it's almost like magnifies the ability to be self-aware. because I'm constantly like, because we're both striving in our own way, but in the same direction, like you being there doing that also keeps me in that constant state of self-awareness in a positive way, not like an on-edge way.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. That's what, like, when you find someone that you're compatible with, and that, yes, like you said, it magnifies, I think, my ability to achieve, and also like, yeah, like just being with someone who holds a safe space and is loving shines a light on my flaws too, or where I'm lacking, my shortcomings. I should use that word, right? Like the things that because everyone's in denial about something, right? And you shine light on my denial of things, right? And it's not like you're pointing it out, saying something, but just your presence, and just like, or maybe like you come over and you do my dishes, right? Like, oh, there's a fucking sink full of dishes. Why didn't I get on that? You know, and it's not like you're happily doing it, but in my head, I'm like, oh, I need to, get my shit together a little more. Like, I want to come over and make some tea to sit down, not have to do a bunch of chores, or so, just like there's different things that your presence just shines light on. And yeah, I can't stress enough, it's not that you're telling me this, it's just when you're just with someone, you're lovingly helping them, the other person, I think, notices like, oh yes, like this should have been done, or I could have done this. And so.
Well, it's funny like that you use that example of the dishes, because I remember a few weeks ago we were having a conversation with someone, and I don't remember exactly how it started, but you had made a comment about like just being kind. Like you had heard something about people thinking they're Jesus but not acting, like not being kind to people or whatever. And the person we were talking to was kind of like, well, no, but about holding people accountable, and they have to take care of their own stuff, and like kind of, which I get, like you don't want to just take care of, like we talked about earlier, but at the same time, like just showing that kindness, like I've been doing the single parent thing longer than you. Like I know, like kids get out of school and there's homework and chaos and they're all over the place, and like it's overwhelming that you also have a house and you have your own stuff to take care of. So when I come over and things are crazy and I can just do a sink full of dishes and it took me 10 minutes and it's no big deal, but I know it's a big deal to you. And that's just like an easy way. And I've done that with friends. Like it's okay. Like, especially if someone's sick or just had a baby, like I would love to come over and fold the laundry on your couch, because I know it's not a huge task, but to you right in this moment, it feels insurmountable. And I get it. Like I've been there so many times. So just being able to show that kindness, I think there needs to be more of that.
No, I agree. That was we were listening to that podcast by Hamilton Morris.
Yes.
And Hamilton said it. But I want to see what McKenna else said. She said,
oh my gosh, typing all over the place.
Oh. Love you guys. Canning date soon. No, be you. You're gorgeously beautiful. ESP when you do things that scare you. Experience.
Oh, especially.
You literally do matter so much.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's even with the friend relationships.
Yes.
Like that's what Hamilton was talking about. Like he was talking specifically about having like a psychedelic experience and you think you're fucking God or Jesus or something. Like it's really like what matters if you have an experience, or even not, but go like, and I use like the terms of like, yeah, like it's hard. It is hard for some people to wash your dishes, but just going over there and being a helping hand. If you guys have a friend or know someone who is kind of has a hoarding mentality or is depressed and cluttered, just going over there and helping someone pick up their home, or maybe whatever it is,
Huge, yeah.
It matters so much.
Yeah. So McKenna's last comment. So I would love to be someone who decorates for the holidays. Like I think it's beautiful when you walk into someone else's home and it was for fall decorations and everything is decorated with fall. I remember growing up, there was this family we would go visit regularly. And this woman decorated for every single holiday. She even changed out the light plate covers for every holiday. And I always I wanted to be like that, but I don't have the time or the energy or the effort. Like I don't, because I recognize that is a limitation that I'm okay with now, you know. But McKenna does beautiful holiday decorations, and her fall decorations, her whole apartment is just beautiful and decorated. But you know, she also had a 2-year-old, and it's just hard. And she has this one little storage closet, and the tub the fall decorations fit in is at the bottom. So you have to take everything out to get it out, put it all back. And I just remember going over there like in 2 hours. We got it because she wanted to work. She wanted to focus on Christmas decorations, you know, but the fall decorations were still everywhere. And I love the fact that she takes the time to decorate. Like she does all the things for her kids and for herself to make all the holidays special. And I love that she's making time and energy for that. So in any way I can help her keep doing that, I'm happy to, because that's something I gave up. Like that was something I wanted to do. I did not have the time or energy. So I just decided it wasn't that important, which is okay. It's not like I'm like sorrowful now about it, but I loved helping her keep doing that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And check my kudos to anyone who decorates. I've never even attempted. There's a Christmas tree that goes up, and my Halloween decorations pretty much stay up all year. But yeah, I would love to get to a point to where that would be like I have the time and energy to do that. I don't think I'll ever really care, but just that freedom of like, you know, becoming so, well, for me, I'm not that organized, and this is like, I go on and on about the holiday stuff, but I don't know. I think, look who it is.
Hi. I love him.
Kind of, you know, those are bears or something.
Crying faces.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, being a friend. Like, that's another great topic that we could get into now or whenever. And I think as this goes on, as this show goes on, we'll kind of have more. I think we can talk about a lot of shit, cohesive topics, you know, just like could break down a lot of things. But what is a friend is what I was thinking, you know. It's important to be. I remember this one time, my mom was not doing too hot, and I asked one of her lifelong friends to reach out to her, and she said she wouldn't because she didn't want to hurt her feelings. And I fucking lost my shit. And what the fuck is a friend for? You know, like, you know what? And it's a beautiful thing. I have a lot of friends now, and the friends that I have are real motherfuckers, right? Like they're solid. But I always tell my friends exactly what I think.
Yeah.
You know, and for a long time I didn't have a lot of friends, or not a lot of people liked me because I think it's like an African proverb or some proverb, like the one who tells the truth has no friends, you know. But it's like, it's a good way to weed out the fake motherfuckers, you know.
Yeah. See people. Like you see people, and I think that makes you a great friend. I think that's important. You see the good and the bad, you see all of them. You don't filter how you view your friends.
I don't know. I just appreciate when telling someone shit. Hey man, you're fucking lacking. Pick up the pace or whatever it is, you know. Like, why do you do it that way? You fucking suck, dude. You know, it's like,
yeah.
Like, cool. Thanks for making me better. You know, I'm not a dick either. You know,
yeah.
But like, it's just like, I wanna fucking level up. I want to be the best me I can be, and in order to do that, I need help. We're in denial. I'm in denial about a lot of shit. You know.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes if I get told something and I don't want to change, it's fuck you. You know, I'm gonna do what I want to do. You know?
Well, and I think being honest again adds to that, giving people a safe space. I remember one time years ago, I was friends with this woman. Like our kids were the same age. We went to the same play group type of stuff. That's how we met. And the one day, she was having a really rough day. And she kept like, she wanted to say something, but she wasn't. And then then I asked her if she wanted to get lunch. And finally she looks at me and she's like, do you ever she goes, I feel horrible even thinking this, but do you ever just miss your life before kids? And I'm like, of course I do. Like, I wouldn't give my kids up for the world, but yes.
Yeah.
I traveled, I had money, like I did all sorts of things. I had friends, I could get a phone call at 10, do you want to go bowling? And the answer was always yes. Of course I missed before I had kids. That doesn't mean I don't love my kids, but she was like struggling with this feeling that it meant because she missed not having kids, it meant she didn't love her kids,
Right.
I think just being like really honest. And I think that goes back to like the 12-step group, and like being honest about yourself just makes other people feel safe to be honest about themselves and feel like you're not crazy, or maybe you are, like whatever.
So you like bowling?
I do.
Learn something every day. Chiron Labs. Slay Queen. Okay then. Ups and downs, good and bad. They know when to tell you the truth and when to give the advice and when to be silent and help move forward without having to say it. Hard truths, but also hard realities. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Is there anything, would you like to keep bullshitting? We're at an hour and some minutes that we can.
I think I'm good. I think it was a good first, like a good, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. We had pretty steady viewers. It was like popping from 2 to 7
Nice.
the whole time. So thank you everyone for watching, McKenna. It's awesome. We're definitely going to do this, maybe a bi-weekly or bi-monthly or weekly. Not exactly sure. We'll figure it out. Yeah, stay tuned. We'll have a sweet intro video coming soon as well. So I love you guys. Anything?